Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Haribol 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 Bolo Haribol. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astotra Satsya Srimad Divine Grace is Confanacharya Srila Abhacana Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Purport Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astotra Satsya Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Purport Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Kaur Ki Jai. Prem Si Kahao Se Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Si Advaita Gadadhara Si Vasadi Se Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Syama Kunda Radha Kunda Girikavadan Ki Jai. Savindavandam Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadivdam Ki Jai. Jaganapuri Dham Ki Jai. Gangamai Yamunamai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Our glories to the Saman devotees. Our glories to the Saman devotees. Our glories to the Saman devotees. Our glories to Sisi Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasa Tattva Jaya Madhirayat Nasta Paye Swabhadesu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavaiti Naistiki. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Text 6 to 7. So we have Text 7 on the board. But before we get to that, let me just get through Text 6. Mumuchu prema baspogam vira hotkantya kattaraha rajatam achayam chakre kritasana parigraham. Translation: due to anxieties and long... Is that what is on the board? But what's on the board is 6, not 7. Is that 7? Oh, okay. So what I read is 6, all right. So this is translation to text 6. Due to anxieties and long separation, they all cried out of affection King Yudhiṣṭhira then arranged to offer sitting accommodations and reception. So text 7. Tam bhuktavantam viśrāntam Tam bhuktavantam viśrāntam āsīnaṁ āsane praśraya-avanataḥ rājā prāha teṣāṁ śṛṇvatām. Can someone try? Mataji, anyone? So word for word translation, then translation and purport by His Divine Grace is confirmed Acharya. Srila Abhacharya Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Mahārāja ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tam, him, Vidura. Him, Vidura. Bhuktavantam. After feeding him sumptuously. Viśrāntam, and having taken rest. Āsīnam, being seated. Sukham āsane, on a comfortable seat. Praśraya-avanataḥ, naturally very gentle and meek. Rājā, King Yudhiṣṭhira, prāha, began to speak. Teṣāṁ, teṣāṁ, and by them, śṛṇvatām, being heard. Translation. After Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, he was comfortably seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present there listened. Please responsibly repeat. After Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, he was comfortably seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present there listened. Purport. So let's listen to Prabhupada's purport very attentively, because that is the whole sum and substance of this text. King Yudhiṣṭhira was expert in reception also, even in the case of his family members. Vidura was well received by all the family members by exchange of embraces and obeisances. After that, bathing and arrangements for a sumptuous dinner were made, and then he was given sufficient rest. After finishing his rest, he was offered a comfortable place to sit. And then the king began to talk about all happenings, both family and otherwise. That is the proper way to receive a beloved friend, or even an enemy. An enemy is always afraid of his enemy, but this should not be so when he is received at home by his enemy. This means that a person, when received at home, should be treated as a relative. So what to speak of a family member like Vidura, who was a well-wisher for all the members of the family. Thus, Yudhiṣṭhira Mahārāja began to speak in the presence of all the other members. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyanajana-salakaya Saksura-militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sachaitanya-manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vanchakalpataribhyacha Kripasunubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhya Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Swami Āsīnaṁ Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravana Bacharina Anirvasesa Sonyam Vadi Pashatya Disatarina Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Rasivasadi Sagora Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the Vedic literature is very complete. It gives us a windows to the spiritual world, but it gives us it also makes some provisions and provides us with insights on behavioral management. How we should manage our behavior, how to tailor our behavioral tendencies towards sustainability, how to be able to create a viable environment, a viable future through social networking. And in this very text, it's talking about strategies for reception. Strategies for reception. How do we receive people? I remember, I won't mention the place. I remember I traveled to one temple, and as I went to the porter to collect the key to my room, one young devotee, he came to me. I was carrying my bag. And he said, Maharaj, can you help to give class, Bhagavatam class tomorrow morning? I said, yes, of course. I said, Bhagavatam class, Bhagavad Gita class, in our society, if even I'm sleeping, you wake me up, I'll come and give the class. But this is not the way we were trained in this movement, how to receive guests. That's what I told him. I said, please don't be offended. This is a holy dam. I don't intend to offend you. But, think about it. Perhaps the people who put you in that position, they didn't train you well how to receive a guest. Yes, you want to engage me. I was just open. One of the things that I like doing is to be able to help young devotees. So here is a young person. Now, if it were some people, they won't say anything. They'll go away and start, saying bad things about that temple or how it was handled. But what will I gain from that? I wanted to make sure that I helped out, not just go behind to complain. So I said, the Vedic literature, we understand that if a guest comes to your place, get him a proper place to stay. So I came here, I want to collect my key. First thing you should have done is to help me collect, procure the key from the porter. And then, take me to the room where I'm going to stay and possibly, provide me with drinking water. This is the Vedic culture. This is how people are received in the Vedic culture. So after speaking to him, I told him, please forgive me if I commit offenses to you, and I paid obeisances to him. So he also paid obeisances to me. So, I hugged him. He also hugged me. So I said, now we are friends. It's all finished. So, here in this text, very important issue in the industrial setting, in the industries, in companies, in organizations, any office you go to, there is a reception. What is the purpose of the reception? One of the primary purposes of the receptionist is to be able to enable social networking. If the person who comes, the visitor who comes, wants to see perhaps the managing director, or he wants to see the financial director, it is through the receptionist that he will get connected with that person. Is it not? So, here, basically, this is part of management science. So the people who set up industries, who set up organizations, and then put an office for the receptionist, they're not just stupid. It is to be able to harmonize relationships between visitors and the workers in that very organization. So when Yudhiṣṭhira and his family received Vidura, keep in mind that Vidura, he traveled like before the Kurukshetra war, before the commencement of the Kurukshetra war. He went for pilgrimage. He was just like Balaram. Balaram didn't want to have anything to do with the war. He didn't want to be part of it. So he also went out for pilgrimage. It's called avoidance behavior. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to see it. So let me, So, here, Vidura has come back from his pilgrimage. And there were these pleasantry exchanges between the family. But Vidura is the uncle of Yudhiṣṭhira. Is the uncle of Yudhiṣṭhira and all the Pandavas, as well as the Kauravas. So, we have it here in this very purport giving us a fundamental understanding on how to receive people. So the first thing here, when he came, they have him, they facilitated his comfortability. They provided him with, amenities or with services that kept him comfortable. And then they fed him, they allowed him to rest sufficiently. He came from a long trip of, pilgrimage. He could be tired. Who knows? So, and if even he was not tired, if even he didn't go out for a long pilgrimage, a guest comes to us, first thing we have to do, he said, that's how we are trained. So, when we're keeping someone as a receptionist, we have to properly train them. When we are giving someone some service to deal with the public, we have to properly train them so that we don't have a situation where the person simply wants to exploit. We have a tendency to exploit, and we may carry that tendency into the devotional arena, but all in the name of devotion. And we avoid really being real in terms of values, social values, etiquette. So when we receive people in our homes, look, receiving someone at home and receiving someone in the office, they are two different scenarios. First of all, if you meet someone, if you get acquainted with someone, you don't just give them your home telephone number. No. You give them your office number. When you have established a relationship with a person for some time, you study the person, then you may want to invite them home. So, the home visitor is regarded as part of the family. You trusted this person before you're inviting him home. And so, these are, technical things that are in the Bhagavatam, but if we don't understand management science in details in terms of how to manage behavior in terms of enhancing social networking, these things may not make any meaning to us. We will just tell some stories and go away. But no, this is the science of managing behavior in relationship to guests who visit us. I remember when first time I came to the Hare Krishna temple, one of the major things that impressed me was their reception, their mode of reception. They have somebody in the temple room, and anytime you come to that temple, somebody will be there to give you charanamrita and a sweet. Anytime you come to that temple. So I thought, wow, see, when I went there, I was coming from a judicial background. I was working with the judiciary. And in the judiciary, who cares? So I saw a completely different culture, and that gave me a very good impression about the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So here we are reading how Vidura was given a very grand reception. Grand reception. Why? Vidura himself is the well-wisher of the whole family. Remember when there was some plot to burn the Pandavas to ashes, he revealed the plot to Yudhiṣṭhira. He hinted, and Yudhiṣṭhira, because Yudhiṣṭhira was also very intelligent, he quickly could understand this is what Dhritarashtra is planning. When they were having the discussion, their mother was there. Yudhiṣṭhira's mother was there. But she didn't understand. Later she asked Yudhiṣṭhira, what is it that you're talking with? You're talking with Vidura. So Yudhiṣṭhira told her what they were discussing, what Vidura was trying to make him understand. So they were precautions. Now, for someone who cares for you, who loves you, they watch out. They may not come to sleep with you in the same house, the same apartment, but they watch out when danger clicks on the way, so that they could come to alert you. The real lover may not be the person who clings around you all the time, but they're watching. That was the mood of Vidura. And Vidura is no other person than Yamaraj. And so you can imagine, he's an agency of the Lord, and he has taken birth. He was caused to take birth as, the child of a maidservant. So all of the facilities were there for him to be the king, but because he was the son of a maidservant, he was deprived of any of those opportunities. But he played his part. In other words, everybody cannot become the president of the country. Everyone cannot become the prime minister of the country. Everyone cannot become the GBC of Mayapur. Okay? So, whatever we find ourselves, we should act like Vidura. We should have the Vidura mindset. we should watch out to see when something goes wrong and we help to rectify it. In the U.S. military, they say there's a common slogan that when you find something wrong, you help out. Don't go and complain. You see what you can do. In other words, we have to be proactive. Because we are living in the material world, and look, Vidura is an epitome of pro-action. His behavior is an epitome of pro-action. He watches out what is going wrong and lends in support. And what things are going good, he adds value to it. Because things could be going good, but there could still be a need to add value to it. I mean, in fact, that is why, scientists, they conduct researches. Amazing development has taken place. But another scientist, conducted a research, and he brought out some little thing that adds value to that original concept. That was the mode of Vidura. He was a value adder and a person who was superlatively proactive. He checks out things on time. Instead of allowing things to deteriorate, he checks out things on time and helps out. That should be the mood of all of us. Because the mission that we are part of, this is the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore, we are trying to see that all of these prodigal children, any person you find in this material world is Krishna's prodigal child. Runaway child. Runaway child. When you meet a runaway child, you try to enlighten them about the wealth of their father, the wealth of their family, and encourage them to go back. So we are also in that mood of trying to see that we help in spreading the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we help Prabhupada, and for us to do so, we have to have this proactive mindset. Because if you simply look around, Vidura was not simply looking around and criticizing Dhritarashtra's destructive mood. He would chastise him. He chastised him too when in some instances. But his major focus is to be able to rescue the Pandavas from danger. When you find a situation where somebody is about to be killed, and if you keep quiet, you become an accomplice. So we need the help of each other more than ever before. Like the Pandavas needed the help of Vidura. We need the help of each other. And therefore, when Prabhupada established this movement, he wanted everyone to be able to be part of the movement and then make the movement his property. Don't be a stranger. Because to be a stranger, you will not be able to make maximum input in the system. If you see the system as being yours, then you can really input so much so that you get exhausted every day. And so here, Yudhiṣṭhira is creating an avenue where he is able to speak to Vidura in the presence of members of the family, friends, and part of the cabinet, his cabinet. But then the important thing is that Vidura has the potency to be able to transform the environment in a very positive way. Vidura is an agent who leads a positive change. He might not be involved directly in managing affairs, but as an advisor or as a prime minister, he was there to be able to make sure that there was that peace prevailed. But of course, what is designed by nature is what is going to happen. What is predestined is what is going to happen. But he did his best. And when he came to the final point where the war was going to actually erupt, he moved out. He went on pilgrimage. And now the war is over. Kauravas are all vanquished. Now he came back. And he's been given a grand reception. So from this very text, we could learn some few things about how to become a good receptionist. When people come to us, when we meet people for the first time, when people visit our temples, we should not leave the job to the temple manager. He's just a one person. How much can he do? We should become receptionists. Everybody should become receptionists. We should ask people who visit us, the pilgrims, when they come, we should ask people who come around. We should be friendly with people who come around. We should ask what they need to be able to facilitate their stay. That is the fundamental essence of this very text as it relates to us, or what we can take home with. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Sometimes we have you're saying that we should, if we see that there's something wrong, and then we should rectify it somehow.
We should help out.
Oh, get out. Well, the approach, a lot of times devotees think they see something wrong, feel like they understand what right is, that they're right in doing right, and then they think the other person is wrong, and that it's their job to somehow rectify them or make them better by understanding where they're coming from, or what they conclude, And then the scriptures or the guru have different opinions on the same thing that seem kind of contradictory. So devotees end up fighting with one another over, an issue. Prabhupada says different things about something like chocolate. Prabhupada, you can read that one Haribol Prabhu will say that, well, in 1972 I gave Prabhupada chocolate and he said it was nice. And then Jai Prabhu says, well, in 1976 I went and asked Prabhupada if we should have chocolate, and Prabhupada said, no, it's forbidden in ISKCON. So people have a tendency to think they're right about something, and then we fight over, this issue, and we have disagreement. So it causes fighting and disturbance in our service, Vaishnava aparad. So how can we be right about something without, and then want to make things right without causing offense or having conflict and deteriorating our relationship amongst Vaishnavas?
Thank you very much. Basically, what I was emphasizing was the Vidura mindset. Vidura sees or finds out or noticed that the Pandavas, they are in danger. So he figures out ways to be able to help. Like he went to inform Yudhiṣṭhira that, that building, they're going to burn you guys to death. And so see what you can do and make sure you prepare yourself to be able to get out from that danger. So it does not really imply that he was trying to create some type of conflict, but rather he knew very well there's some danger here, and had to become available to be able to rectify the situation. That's why I use that word, rectify. But it's not, I understand what you mean. It's not a situation where a devotee should feel that he doesn't know anything. So the whole idea of, thinking that I know better than you, or I have a better idea than you, is bound to bring conflict. Because we have this ego. We have big ego. Ego is a major problem. And so there are some things that we can really help even another devotee, but if we are not their friends, it becomes difficult. If we want to put ourselves like that of an authority, hey, Prabhu, you did like this, or you said like this, you're wrong. I'm right. This is what Prabhupada said. If even you're saying the correct thing, and the ego does not allow the person to accept what is being presented. And so one of the things based on my own personal experience, one of the things that I found is when we create some very good relationship with people, it becomes easier to help them. I remember one devotee, we joined at the same time. We took 4-second initiation at the same time. But he was so tough that it was like, everybody, even his own peers, were afraid of him. So, but we were very close. And I remember one day, I took him, we went to the farm. So I took him for a japa walk. And in the heart of the forest, I said, let's sit down for a discussion. So I started enumerating all the things that I've heard that he's doing, and devotees are agitated and they feel very bad and all those things. So I told him everything. And at some point in time, I was furious. You know what he told me? He said, Vasudev, you're my friend. Anything you say, I will accept. Now, for him to see me as his friend and to say that anything I say, he will accept, that just solves a major problem, because now I told him a lot of things and he understood that this is affecting the life of his behavior is affecting the life of other devotees, and he started rectifying himself, started checking himself, trying to modify his behaviors. But if we are not in a position to correct someone, generally we are not even in a position to correct someone except we are their spiritual master. But we are supposed to help each other. The way that the help can come is not by claiming that I am right and then you are wrong, because my ego will not allow me to accept when you say I'm wrong. And so that's a major problem. And therefore, the help that we can get from each other, first of all, we should lay a groundwork, we should lay a foundation, how to get that help, by really creating a very, very good relationships. And if even we know something is wrong, our approach could be something that will tell whether that is going to be beneficial to the person or not. Sometimes, just by our approach, we have good intentions, but then our approach is perceived by the person as a way of trying to check him, or trying to correct him, or trying to impose authority on him. And nobody likes authority. Even a child does not like authority. A little child, 2 years old, Govinda, the mother tells Govinda, hey, Govinda, sit down there. That is the time Govinda stands up. This is our nature. Resistance to change. It's a big thing in management. We resist change like anything, by all means. So if we understand this, then basically we have to see how we are being friendly with people. And there are some things that we can just call the person aside and speak to them privately. And they may take it if we are friendly if we speak to them in a friendly way. People in general, they don't want authority. And so we should be friendly with people. And see, I've helped a number of people. Even I remember I went to I went to California and San Diego, and there was this proper disciple who was just pushing me all over the place. He said, you know, anywhere you want to go, you tell me, I'll take you there. I said, you're my spiritual uncle. Like, you cannot do that. He said, see, I've seen your behavior. You're just free with everybody, and I really want to be like you. That's what he told me. That's what he told me. So, people want to see how you are not imposing yourself on them. And you could make so many friends, and people could just volunteer to do something for you or do some service for you, because we resist change. It's just in our marrow, in our blood, and in our marrow. We resist change. Experiment it. Tell a little 2-year-old child, sit down there. That's the time they get up. Does it make some meaning? All right. We have some few more minutes in case someone has another comment or question. Okay. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of this. I've seen this right here in Mayapur. I like to give graphic examples. See, one here, the brahmacharis, they were serving charamita outside there. The ladies were inside the temple by the altar. Now, some elderly ladies, some locals, elderly ladies, they're supposed to be like their grandmothers of those brahmacharis. I saw them, they just come in here. Maybe they don't know your rules and regulations. They don't know where to go. They just saw charamita table and they came there. And you see how these young boys were harassing these ladies. Hey, go there, go. So I couldn't take it. I want to meet them. I said, see, these ladies, they are elderly ladies. They are supposed to be your grandmothers. They are not the women who will even fall you. These are elderly ladies. Why don't you be polite? They don't know their left and right, where to go. Why don't you just be polite? You treat them like your grandmother. Explain just, the right thing to them. Reception doesn't mean that, we have an office and then, we ask people, whom do you want to see and all this thing. But that is a typical case of bad reception. So yes, we are all busy. But being busy doesn't mean that we cannot have a moderate behavioral pattern towards people. Being busy doesn't mean that we cannot be kind, we cannot be loving to people. If we treat people like, I don't know whether I mentioned this story before. I was traveling in Canada, and in Montreal, one devotee was traveling with some brahmacharis from Toronto. So the lead devotee, he came to meet me and said, Maharaj, how can I help these young devotees who are traveling with me on the Sankirtan party? I said, you should treat them you should love them the way you love your younger brother. Treat them like that. You know what he told me? He said, Maharaj, that's very difficult. But we say, Mama evam so jiva loka jiva bhuta sanatana. Everyone is part and parcel of Krishna, isn't it? So we are one family. To say one thing is one, and another way is the implementation, to practice. So yeah, the reception that I mean is a very simple thing. Modifying our behavior, modifying our rash behavior. All right. Any other comments? We have, again, more 5 minutes. All right, in the absence of any other comments or questions, we like to adjourn this meeting. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.